You're here because you need to know how to create search campaigns in Google Ads, so let me show you the correct way to set one up in this Google Ads tutorial. Search campaigns are the meat and potatoes of Google Ads and the easiest and quickest way to put your business in front of potential customers searching for your services at this very moment. Before you create your search campaign, you need to know two things. One, what services or products do you want to advertise? If your budget is limited, don't overshoot this. Narrow everything down to fewer services or products so you can gradually expand your campaign later. Going too wide too quickly on a limited budget will leave the campaign algorithm lacking data and make it harder to know what keywords or what ads are working well. So if your budget is limited, start with one or two product categories or services. Secondly, you need to research keywords for each service to find high-intent keywords. One or two broad match types high-intent keywords are enough for each service. Before we continue with this video, if you are running a business and you struggle to manage your own Google Ads account yourself, I have developed a one-on-one coaching program where we will hold your hand and teach you how to run your Google Ads account profitably and consistently with the help of our dynamic coaching protocol. If you want to learn more and how to get started, you can check the description below. Now back to the search campaign tutorial. To research keywords, use the Keyword Planner, a free tool inside of Google Ads that you can utilize to find keywords to target. Once you have a clear plan for what services and keywords for those services, let's dive into a screen share where I will show you the step-by-step process of setting up the search campaign. Here we are inside of Google Ads. So the quickest way to create your search campaign is to either click Campaigns and then Overview and then click New Campaign over here, or you have this plus sign over to the top left where you can click Create and then choose Campaign. In this case, we're going to click this one. The first choice you have to do when you create your campaign is to choose the campaign objective. One of the biggest mistakes I see people do in both courses and in the creation process is to create a campaign without a goals guidance. And you're definitely not supposed to do that because Google Ads or Google is sitting on a heap of data on your specific browsing behavior and how you are using the internet and searching for services or products or questions, whatever it might be. When doing this choice for the objective of your campaign, you need to make a choice, okay? And in this case, we're going to focus on lawn mowing services. So I would choose the leads version for this one because we will be looking at people reaching out for a quote or getting in touch about those services. If you're an e-commerce, selling e-commerce like products, direct sales on your website, you would be picking the sales version. And then you also have these other types like website traffic, local store visits and promotions, and awareness and consideration, and those apply for those specific situations. But like 90% of cases, these two are the major ones that you choose between. So don't do the create a campaign without a goals guidance because then you are leaving a lot of performance on the table. So in this case, since it's a lawn mowing services, we're going to go with the leads version. Next up, you have to choose what conversion goals you should be using to optimize your campaign towards. Depending on how your campaign or how your account is set up, you will be given different choices here. So in this case, I have signups and I have qualified leads. What you can do over here is you can actually remove some of them if you don't want them to be applied to this specific campaign. Now, don't worry about that. That won't remove the conversion action from the account or anything. It will just remove it from this specific campaign. So in this case, I'm going to do signups because that's where I have my lead form conversion actions. Once you have this set up, you can also add more goals if you like. So if you have other different types of conversion goals inside of your account, you can add them in as well. Next, you click continue. All right, so since this is a search campaign, we are going to click search. Next up, what you want to be doing here is to add in phone calls, and you can also do the website visits. The reason why you want to have the phone calls added in with your phone number is because you want to be able to create phone call ads, which is a good alternative for service-based businesses. So in here, you can just add in your address and your phone number. Next, what you want to be doing is giving your campaign a good name. So a naming convention that I use is I start with the area that I'm targeting. So let's say, for example, we are targeting New York. I usually do something like NY, and then in square brackets, I type in this in the campaign type, which is search in this case. And then I type in what the main service or product I'm advertising is. So for this case, it's lawn mowing services that we're going to focus on. Then we click continue. Here we are at the next step, which is to choose the correct bidding strategy for your campaign. And it is super vital that you do not create your campaign with a conversion-based bidding strategy from the beginning, because you need data in your account in order to fully utilize the power and efficiency behind a conversion-based strategy. So when you're sitting with a new campaign, in this case, you need to go for a clicks-based bidding strategy. So in this list, you go inside and you choose clicks instead. If you are trying to advertise in a business niche or service where the cost per clicks is very high, you can set a maximum cost per click just to limit the bids for the bidding method. But if you are bidding in a niche where, the click cost is somewhere around $0.50 to, I would say, upwards to about $10 a click, I would say that you should do maximum clicks without a cost per click bid limit, because you want to be able to accumulate data as quickly as possible. So this is one way to do that, to making sure that you are visible in the most top locations for your ads and getting the best data as quick as possible. So over here we have customer acquisition, which is a way of having your ads being pushed only for new customers that haven't interacted with your business before. So if you have a list of over 1,000 participants in your audience list, you can exclude those here to make sure that you are only advertising for people that haven't been converted before, as an example. But for this case, we're not going to touch this one. Next is your main campaign settings. So the first thing you want to be doing is to remove the display network, because the display network is only going to eat up your last cents or dollars of your budget just to get to that set budget that you're going to set for the campaign. So I'm going to leave that one off. If you have the urge to create a display campaign or utilizing the display network, you should do a separate display campaign for that, because you have way more targeting options. So make sure to remove the display network targeting. For search network, however, if you're in the United States, you have good resources such as Yahoo, for example, that are also part of the search network. What you want to be doing here is you can actually try and leave that on, but for most cases you should switch that off as well, because you only want to be focusing on Google search or Google's main search engine and not its partners, basically. In this case, I'm going to leave this off. Then we have locations. Here you can either enter in your locations. So let's say we do New York City. Let's do New York County, just to take something, okay? So you can choose to target that one, and you can choose to target many more locations. You can also actually go into advanced search, and you can actually move around on the map, and you can actually enter other targets to target as well. So let's say, for example, we do Brooklyn as well. I don't know how many lawns there are to to take care of in New York and Brooklyn, but let's just do it for the sake of this tutorial. So once you have found your options you want to target, you can do save. The next one is location options. This one is super important, because this determines if you should be targeting people actually living or being inside of the targeted area, or if you should target people that actually have an interest or regularly visits or be part of that area you're trying to target. In this case, we're going to go with presence, because we only want to target people that are regular in our targeted locations. If I choose this one, I might actually be showing up with my ads for people not even living in New York or even in United States. So we're going to go with presence for this one. Next one is languages. In this case, we're doing lawn mowing services for people speaking English, so we're gonna leave it with English. You can actually add in more languages if you like. Let's say you have a translation service on your website, you can add in more languages for that. Next up, you have audience segments, and we're gonna get to this after the campaign is created. I'm gonna show you how to use audience segments in the correct way. Here we can see we have a next section called broad match keywords. Now, because I choose a click-based bidding strategy, I cannot make any choices here, which is perfectly fine, because we don't want to have it left on being on. We want to have this one off, okay? Because we don't want our keywords to default back to broad match no matter what we do. We want to have the control over this ourselves. Next up, we have automatically created assets. If you have one single landing page with a very strong offer you want to drive traffic to, I would say leave this one off. But if you are trying to sell something in e-commerce for a specific product, I would actually recommend that you can try and use this as on. to make sure that Google is actually crawling your product pages and everything and extracting data and information from that in order to tailor the ads better to what the person is searching for. But in most cases, I would actually turn this one off, for at least for the beginning, and move on with that. Next up is ad rotation, which you will find inside of more settings. For this one, leave it on because we want Google Ads to optimize for the best performing ads. If you have more than one of them, which you should, because you should be split testing your ads constantly. Then we have start and end dates. Now, usually I don't set an end date because the sole purpose of starting up a search campaign would be to start getting leads and optimizing your search campaigns, so you start having that sort of conveyor belt of leads coming in constantly into your business. So you wouldn't want to have an end date unless it's like a 1 month long promotion you're doing with your search campaign. Then you would want to have an end date. But in most cases, you don't want to have an end date because the main goal of this is to start that tiny seed that will be a gold mine for your business with ads generating leads for you like on a conveyor belt. Next up, we have the ad schedule. Here you can either do, for example, all days, you can do Mondays to Fridays, or you can do certain specific days. You can actually add more different schedules. So let's say, for example, that you want to have a certain schedule for Mondays to Fridays, and then you want to have another schedule for Saturdays to Sundays. You can do that here. This is also something you can access later in the campaign settings, so you don't have to touch this right now if you don't like to. Next up, we have campaign URL options. This is if you have UTM links that you can add into your campaign to better follow up in other analytic tools, which and what part of your campaign is generating the clicks and the conversions for you. As a default, Google Ads is usually set to auto tagging, which means that inside of Google Analytics, you will be getting this information anyway. But if you're using other third-party software, it could be a good idea to add in UTM tracking parameters so that you can more easily track where your leads and conversions are coming from. And lastly, we have brand restrictions. And since this campaign is running on a clicks-based bidding strategy and we haven't enabled broad match keywords over here, this one will not be able to be used as well. But that's okay because you can add in negative keywords later to exclude your brand from the campaign, which you should, because you don't want to be tainting your data with your brand name, because that usually means you get way lower costs per conversions at way lower costs per click and everything. And the conversion rates are always very, very good, and the click-through ratios are very, very good since it's your brand. So you don't want to be having your brand in your generic campaigns. Next, you get to your keywords and ads. Now, the way I usually do it is I actually remove the ad group from the campaign, so it's without an ad group and without any ads. The reason for that is because I want to be setting up that later, so we're gonna do that then. We go to the next stage, which is budget. And you might ask yourself, what budget should I choose for my campaign? Now, in most cases, if you have some sort of budget restriction, what you should take into consideration is that you need to be able to afford at least 10 clicks a day. That's, I would say, is the bare minimum, because then you're getting enough data every day to be able to start seeing conversions getting inside of your account. So in this case, let's pretend that 500 is the budget we're gonna do. That's 500 Swedish krona, which is about $50 in this case. Let's go next. All right, so the last step is a summary of your campaign, of all the settings that you chose for your campaign. If you can't see this publish campaign option, it is most likely because of an error somewhere in and along these steps for creating the campaign. So then you have to go back and just alter that. When you see these issues, however, you don't have to mind those, because here it's just warning me that I don't have an ad and I don't have any keywords. And that's just because I left the ad group uncreated. I didn't create an ad group, basically. So I'm going to show you in the next step how to do that. Then we also have these recommendations, and they want us to do the maximize conversions using a target CPA from this, from the beginning, which we shouldn't. We have to start with a click-based strategy in order to accumulate conversions over a 30 to 60 day window so that we are getting consistent conversions. Preferably, you want to be having at least 20 to 30 conversions in a 30 day look back window before you switch from a clicks-based bidding strategy over to a conversion-based strategy. So we're going to leave it without a conversion-based strategy when creating this campaign. So it's perfectly fine that you see this recommendation. It's even a triangle or a warning for the bidding method saying that we should have a conversion-based strategy instead of a clicks-based one. So it's perfectly fine. When you have reviewed this and you are ready, you can just click Publish Campaign. And then here you can see your campaign cannot run ads without missing information. And that's perfectly fine. That's still the ads and the keywords missing. We can just go with publish anyway. All right, now the campaign is created. You can see here we have all campaigns and then it says New York Search Lawn Mowing Services. So the campaign is actually already selected. What we have to do now is to go into campaigns, and then we have campaigns again, and then we have ad groups. You can see here we don't have any enabled ad groups. So the first thing we have to do is click here, create ad group. What you first have to do is to give the ad group a name. In this case, we're going to call it Lawn Mowing Services to better understand what the contents are of this campaign. All right, so here you have to add in your keywords. In this case, we're going to target lawn mowing services. Now, when I'm adding in the keyword plain, as you see right now, it's going to be a broad match version. You can see below here, you can also add it inside of quotes and you will have a phrase match keyword, or if you do it inside of brackets, you will have an exact match keywords. For the sake of this tutorial, we are going to leave it with broad match. Once done, you can click save and continue. That has now created your ad group and added in the keywords. All right, so now it's time to create the ad. So the first thing you do is you have to add in a URL where the people who click your ad will actually land up when they click the ad. In this case, I'm just using my own agency website, so don't mind about that. Next, we have to add in some headlines, and here I've actually prepared some of them that I've actually added in. Now, you can actually add up to 15 headlines for your ads, and what I suggest when you create your first ad in a brand new campaign is to leave all the headlines unpinned, which means that what I can actually do with the headlines, I can actually choose which place inside of the ad I want to pin them. And this is only recommended when you want to continue doing your ad copy split testing in order to understand which of the headlines perform the best and in what position. But once you start up a brand new campaign, you don't know what is performing and how it's going to perform, you want to leave everything unpinned so that Google have as much as possible to work with. Also, for those of you wondering, the ad strength is actually nothing else than a visual representation from Google on how much information you have added into your ads. It has some effect in the beginning of your campaign if you don't have a lot of conversion data. Then I would suggest trying to get this up to good or excellent. But over time, when you start getting conversions and your campaigns are actually working, it's perfectly fine to have a poor ad strength because you will have ads that are performing really, really well in terms of both click-through ratio and conversion rates that are poor in ad strength. And it actually has nothing to do with how successful your ad is going to be long term, okay? Next, we have descriptions. You can add as many as 4, but you need a minimum of 2. And the same thing applies here. You can actually also pin these if you like to certain places in the ad, but for the first ad, I would want to leave them all unpinned. Next, you can add in something called assets, previously known as extensions for your ads. So you can add in images, your business name, business logo, and site links, and different other asset types as well, such as promotions, prices, call numbers, callouts, structured snippets, and lead forms, blah, blah, blah. What I would recommend is that you add in as much as possible of these, because what you're gonna do is help increase the relevancy of your ads, but also increase the ad real estate, which means it's going to take up more space when someone searches for the keywords. So it's a super powerful way to improve the click-through rate and everything. Once you are done with the ad, you can just click done, and here you can see the ad is created. So I'm going to save and continue. So now the campaign is created. We have the ad group, which is lawn mowing services, and we have an ad inside of that ad group. The last thing we're going to do is to go into audiences, keywords, and content, and then we're going to click audiences. What we're going to do now is inside where it says audience segments, we're going to add audience segments to the campaign level. Now, we're not going to target them, we're going to add them in as observation. And the reason why we want to do this is because we're going to be telling Google that hi Google, we want to be gathering data for these specific audiences. And the reason why this is so valuable is because it will help you understand what audiences are actually generating you the conversions you're looking for. And also the flip side is you're going to be able to understand what audiences are not generating you conversions, and therefore you can exclude them from your campaign and saving a lot of money. Make sure it's marked as observation, and then we click browse, and here you want to be adding in all the detailed demographics. So for example, parental status, we add all these in. We go into marital status, add everything in. We go into education, add everything in here, and so forth and so forth. And then what you also want to be doing is going into the affinity and the in-market audiences as well. And you can start by adding in the top categories like this. And if you have, for example, let's do, since this is a lawn mowing service, we can go into home and garden, and we can actually add some more like do-it-yourselfer or home decor enthusiasts. We can also go into in-market. We will add everything here as well. Everything is added like so. Then under home and garden, for example, once again, since this is a lawn mowing service, we can go to, for example, home improvement, home security, household supplies, outdoor items, all of these home related things. We have home and garden services. We have even more inside of that one we can add in as well. There we have lawn and garden maintenance, for example. Try to get as many as about 100 to 150 different audiences added in as observation for your campaign. You can see I only selected 82, but you get the idea here. So once you're done, click save. Now under audience segments, you will have a table where you can actually go inside and you can see how your audiences are performing in terms of conversion rates, your cost per conversion, the clicks and the search impression share, everything that's useful to understand for each audience segment. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.